Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode right here on Catholic Table Talk Podcast. This is the podcast where everything Catholic is on the table. Again, thank you so much for joining me this week with another brand new episode. This is episode 80. Can't believe we made it to 80 episodes away. So thank you for all your continued support. If you have not done so, please like, comment, subscribe, and follow all of our pages on all of our platforms, I should say. If you don't know which platform we're on, just click down in the description below and find all of our links to all of our platforms. It's quick and easy, and make sure you spread it and share it because you'll be sharing the gospel. So with that being said, we will kind of move on to today's episode, and it's a big deal in today's society. It's a heavy topic. Um, we'll talk about experiencing real freedom from pornography. And this is, I think, like I said, it's a great topic for in today's society. We all hear that so many people are falling into pornography for just kind of getting away or something. They just kind of been losing the way, whether it's the Catholics or Christians or whatever the case might be. Just really struggling with that. So we'll look at that. So really excited for the talk. And we also have a new guest on the show today, making his Catholic Table Talk debut at the table. There's a little intro about him. For over 15 years, he has been sharing his unique style of delivery, which captivates audiences of all ages, especially with his witty, yet sincere personality. He has a vast knowledge of the faith, as well as a strong commitment to the gospel of Jesus Christ as handed down by the magisterium of the Catholic Church. He offers powerful presentations, retreats, workshops, and missions dealing with the critical topics of chastity, love, marriage, poor life, as well as today's topic, freedom from pornography. I found him out on the National Catholic Speakers Organization, which is a national speaker group for Catholic speakers, and really, really happy that he's making his debut today and taking the time to sit down with us and to talk about pornography. So, with that being said, let's welcome in Steve Poloski. Am I saying that right, Steve?
Steve Pokorny, it's a pleasure to be with you, Billy, today.
Awesome.
And by the way, don't feel bad about it. I've got Patravaz, I've gotten Pokemon, Porknorny. So anyway, I'm just honored to be here. So thank you so much, Billy.
Awesome. Well, like I said, I'm really happy for you to be here and taking the time today to come on. Because this is what makes the show so great is having this discussion one-on-one back and forth. And sometimes people send in questions about the show.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I do it. So it's great interaction that way. So Steve, here at Catholic Table Talk, we just kind of dive right into the topic here. So first question is, how do people get really hooked on porn? Because I mean, I know as a Catholic, I'm not really supposed to be watching that, right? Or looking at that. But if you do it or someone does it, they get hooked on it very easily, it seems like. So how do they get hooked on it?
Yeah, so it's a great question. Thank you, Billy, for this starting. And I just want to thank all those who are hearing this, and just to let you know, this is much more than just dirty pictures. Okay, we're dealing with a neuroscientific issue that's going on. The same chemicals that are in the brain, the dopamine, norepinephrine, testosterone, oxytocin, serotonin, those kind of chemicals, they're the same exact chemicals that are stirred up during healthy marital intimacy are the same chemicals that are stirred up during the viewing of pornography. Okay. But it's a very, very different result whereas when you would, for instance, if dopamine and as a husband and wife, if they're beginning to engage in this beautiful act of marital intercourse. And I think that, Billy, it's a really important phrase to use, marital intercourse, because we, in the wider world and in some pockets of Catholicism, not what the Catholic Church teaches, we've separated intercourse from marriage, right? And so when we do that, it may seem like no big deal, but it's a significant thing, just starting on the biological level here. So basically, take dopamine, for instance, as I mentioned, it's an unwavering, motivating perspective And it's supposed to help us to be radically focused on our beloved spouse, right? Well, flip it around in the usage of pornography. And I want to make sure we have our terms defined correctly. Okay, so to speak about anything, we really got to be good philosophers, right? Um, so pornography is any image, written, or audio that's trying to get us to use another person and as a means of one's own selfish sexual gratification. Okay, so if we look at that, Billy, it's much bigger than just the crap we see online. Okay, it's all around us. We like to say we're swimming in a septic tank, and so seeing these images, right? It seems to be exciting. It seems to be that there's a semblance of love, a semblance of beauty in there, something we're tangibly looking for. And when you come back to the chemical part, right? Just take dopamine, for instance, right? It's that focused here. So instead of being focused on someone who really cares for me, someone that I can build a genuine relationship with, now I'm focused on simply this image. But what happens is it's exciting for a little while, but what we find is we have receptors in the brain. It's kind of like if you had an engine, a car engine, and you flooded it with oil. Pretty soon, that engine isn't really going to start. So then what we find is, unlike the car, we need more and more of these images to keep us interested here, right? So there's in here, right, what started out as something seemingly innocent, it's just something I do a little bit, we find that we need more and more and more of it. Okay. And to answer further more of your question, there's a lot of specific elements to this, I would say. But oftentimes it's because there's a perceived or a real lack. For myself, Billy, my father was out of the picture by the time I was 5, right? And so there's this for any boy or girl who grows up without a father. It's from the father, especially, that we are to learn our identity, especially as men, right? And when we don't have that, right, we're going to go seeking into, shall we say, the septic tanks of the world. And so so come 5th or 6th grade, I was exposed to this. Videos come on, then the internet comes on, and so I needed more and more and more. And there was this, because I wasn't finding my own identity, that I wasn't being affirmed as the young male that I am and was. Then something was perceived lacking. So enter pornography. It feels good. It's a way to kill the pain. It's a way to numb the pain, shall I say? But in fact, instead of solving it, it began to magnify problems. So I think as people are looking at it as this issue, if you're trying to find a way forward, we have to look at what are the way in which we perceived or real lacks in our life, right? That's oftentimes where the evil one likes to come in. He likes to mess with us and get into those areas. And then we participate in that process of doing some serious damage to ourselves and other relationships.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. And like you said about just, having a dad around, like, I can't remember what the percentage of it that they just came out with, but it was like a big percentage of men or women who don't have a father, then yeah, they don't follow the Catholic faith. They kind of fall away from it. Without having a father there to really influence them, they do fall away. So definitely, thank you for sharing that story with us, Steve. And just kind of a quick question now. The thing that popped into my head when you're talking more, explaining about this to us is, and you have to go much into detail about it because this is kind of different topic stuff. But it sounds like it's really about, I mean, pornography is almost like the same thing as same-sex attraction, isn't it?
Okay, so let's go there, right? Let's talk about this, right? And
Right.
for anyone who's hearing this, right, this is very important and actually connects with the father wound. In fact, right, this is not in anything that we're saying here is in no way denigrating the person who may be experiencing same-sex attraction, right? We
Right.
all have these. I like to say the crisis of our time is a sexual one. The heresies of our time, the wrong doctrine, wrong teaching, shall we say, are sexual ones. And sexual first means a noun. Who are we? And we believe as Catholics that we are male or female. Yes, I know what a male is and I know what a female is, right? Do you? That's the question, right? But again, our origin, we come from somewhere. Just very simply, look at your belly button. Okay. That means you came from somewhere, right? So, but many of us, Billy, our origins have been decimated, right? And so there's this lack, and we desperately are aching, we're yearning to know, where do I come, does my value come from? We want to have that affirmed in us. And if it's not affirmed, we're going to go and seek this in various ways, right? And here's what's interesting, and a lot of people haven't connected these dots, is the issue of same-sex attraction, right? Again, everybody, to have same-sex attraction itself, right? That may be an uncontrolled thing, right? Just to have that. It's what we do with that. That's where morality comes in here, right? And the ultimate answer for all of us, whether we are same-sex attracted, whether we're opposite sex attracted, is the call to chastity. It's the call to live out our bodies and our sexuality as gift. That is our way to fulfillment and joy. And for some people, right, who for whatever reason experience a very heavy same-sex attraction, right, the path forward is in chastity, but it's going to also mean it's in celibacy. And celibacy is not a deprivation of the good. It means an opening to something even more in this, right? Well, take a look around, right? In every now it's everywhere. And there was a playbook, actually. I'm forgetting exactly what the name of the book was, but it's the early 90s. There was maybe it was the 80s, a playbook basically of getting the issue of same-sex attraction, and now it's getting into much more depraved behavior beyond that. And not the person is depraved, but the behavior. I want to make that very clear. We got to make the distinction. It's a very careful distinction. That this has to be in everything. So every movie, every television program, there's the person who has same-sex attraction, is much more healthier, is much more well-adjusted, is funnier, right? Putting those out there, and then especially the opposite sex attracted guys, they're kind of stupid, they're kind of goofy, they're womanizers, things like that. So in what we have is, in a certain sense, Billy, and this is a great question, we have the eroticization of relationships. What do I mean by this? What is the eroticization of relationships? It means there's no way a man and a woman can have a genuine friendship. One or the other is going to be lusting after each other. A way in which St. John Paul the Great would talk about this, and pulling from some other philosophers, is the master of suspicion. We are doubting the goodness of ourselves, and thus we doubt the goodness of others, right? And again, it comes back to that wound here. And the greatest good, coming from Aristotle, the greatest good between people is friendship, right? But in our world, we're taught, especially through the pornified vision, right? If everything here is eroticized, is we can't genuinely have relationship and genuine friendship. It has to be eroticized. We have to, and again, if I feel these attractions, then I have to go for it. I have to enter into these behaviors, right? And so that begs the question, Billy, for a lot of young people, right? They're experiencing this crisis, right? There's brokenness going on in their families, whether their mom and dad are together or not. In many cases, there's just confusion. They're being bombarded, especially through social media. If you're feeling these certain ways, then I should go and act on them. And so we have to ask the question, right? How does a person know that they are quote unquote gay or lesbian? Like, I don't even like to use that language. They're persons with same-sex attraction. Many times it's because they're being bombarded by outside messages. They've got a wound in their heart, and they go and act on those broken desires. Not that they are broken and irreparable. There may be brokenness in us, but they act on those, and then they find themselves, this is now what I do is my identity. And this is a very, very slippery slope. So the same, and we use the same language connected with pornography, right? And the idea is, if I use pornography and I find myself hooked, I'm an addict. And that's my identity, that's my worldview, which I say, no, it may be a compulsion. It might be really serious. We do have to deal with it and get it healed. But can it be healed? Yes, it can. And the way forward for healing, like the wound of those, for instance, with same-sex attraction, right? They are not bad. You are good. You are lovable, right? Just like a man or a woman who's dealing with a compulsion of pornography, you are good. You are lovable. You are wanted, right? But you've got this unwanted desire that's in here that you're finding is broken. And this is where we have to open this up. This is where the power of our faith comes in, the power of grace to really heal that. Might we still feel a pull towards that? Especially, like, for instance, if we are experiencing same-sex attraction, might it last for the rest of our life on that? And we need to go and direct it towards genuine love? It's possible, right? But
Right.
but again, God doesn't give us more than what we can handle. He promises to be with us, and He is.
Right. And a lot of people forget to, think about that God is always with us. Whether
Yeah.
it's just walking around outside or just going to church, he's always with us. So thank you for
Mhm.
answering that, Steve. Like I said, just kind of the thought of it just ran
Yeah.
through my head when you were explaining the first question. So I really like how you really go in detail and distinguish the terms and everything. Like you say, because it's much deeper. So thank you for that. And we'll keep the show going here, but like you saying for same sex attraction, you experience freedom, you go through like chastity, and so how do you get rid of pornography? Is it kind of the same way as that, or how do you get rid of it and experience real freedom from pornography? Which for some people they might be hooked on pornography for years.
Good. So great question. And we like to say, Billy, in the work that I do in freedom coaching, it's freedom-coaching.net. And I've been doing this work since 2011. I was hooked for over 12 years, hopelessly thinking I will never be free. Got at other plans, and there was a great deal of healing. And so every person, while every person is different, we treat in the work that we do, every person is unique, and every person's journey in and through and from that, we want to make that very clear, is
Right.
different. There is a process. So we like to say it's maybe a four-headed hydra. I've kind of gone back and forth with a three or four-headed hydra to then to a three-part solution, right? Trinitarian, shall we say. So four-part solution, we talked about the drug, a little bit of the drug compulsion, the idea that we can't break free on our own willpower. Okay.
Right. Right.
Second is an identity issue. Okay. We don't know who we are in the sight of God. We lose ourselves. And many of that comes back from wounds from childhood or growing up. And especially if we have been living out our body and sexuality as an impure gift, if we have been in the process of using people, or we've been formed by these images of using, right? That's an easy way to lose ourselves. And then connected to the identity problem is an intimacy problem, right? We often think we've reduced when I say we're being intimate with each other, Billy, you and I right now are being intimate. Okay. But it has
Right.
very, very, very little to do with our genitals. Okay. And what it is this sharing of each other, right? At the root and heart of what we long for is this desire, this yearning, this aching to see and be seen, to love and be loved. We long for this, right? And if we don't find this, and again, remember, there's so much brokenness going on in our marriage and our families, right? This is the fallout that has come from what was seemingly to be quote unquote sexual liberation. No, it actually became sexual slavery or libido dominandi, right? The dominance of our libido, and that we can't say no. And if we can't say no, how are we supposed to say yes? And if we remember, and then you couple in this, Billy,
Right.
the instantaneousness of our culture. I have to have it now, and I needed it last Tuesday.
Yeah.
And and this is why porn is easy, but it's so empty. And it's the difference between a microwaved meal and a slow crock potted meal, right? What's the difference? You may be opening yourself up to various cancers, perhaps by using a microwave. Do your own research on this, right? But it's quick and it's easy, right? But oftentimes it's empty calories because we just pop things. But when we know that you do a slow, like a crock pot meal, or prepare a really good meal, like last night I was preparing fajitas, and I had to take all the different elements that went to we did bean fajitas, took the peppers, took the onions. I had to saute the peppers and onions, the garlic, chop it up. I had to put that on the stove. Right? If anybody's getting you hungry on this, you should, right? Because I want you hungry. And from this though, that took more time. It took me about, I think, an hour and a half to kind of get everything from start to finish. But we sat down and had an amazing meal last night. Right. And by the way, as gentlemen, if you're hearing, I'm the one who does most of the cooking in our house. So gentlemen, get cooking here. Okay.
Great.
So
Great.
so we need, but what we want is that if we trade for the cheap and easy stuff on the emotional stuff, and then also relationally, we'll end up relationally bankrupt. And that's where a lot of people are. We don't know how to enter into relationships with others. And then the fourth element is we're blind. We've never learned how to see the body correctly. You've got a bunch of guys who are trying to they're trying to do good, but they find that they've got this issue in their life. Like, this is the 572,000-pound elephant in the room. It's the number one sin confessed in the confessional, but there's virtually no homilies going on about it, right? And one of the sad realities is you've got some priests who are involved with this. We work with some of them, right? And so this is an issue that's affecting all of us. And if we stay in this place, this blindness, we're dead. We're dead. And there's a reason why I would argue, undergirding all the problems in civilization, all the problems in the church, is issue of pornography attachment. And so it's really important. So if that's the problem, Billy, what's the solution? 3 parts, right? First is a recovery of our identity. We are beloved sons and daughters of God. We've got to come to know that we're loved. How do we do this? The primary way, we've got to learn how to pray. So many of us are used to, pray the Our Father, Hail Mary, Glory be, pray the Rosary. All those are good. Don't stop. You got to learn those. Be a part of that. Enter in. There's power to the Rosary. Okay. Bishop Hugh Doyle said once that you will either pray the Rosary and give up sin, or you will give up praying the Rosary. Okay, so there's a power there, right? And you're talking to a guy who prays the Rosary. But if you take simply a pray it away methodology on this, okay, you're going to have problems. And I want to make this also very clear before I go on, Billy, is the issue of pornography, unchaste behavior, creates a wall of guilt, shame, and self-hatred. So many people are walking around with those. So these things have to be dealt with. We got to work through that. So before we even get to the solutions, we got to work through some trauma work, right? We got to unpack that. That's a big thing that we do in freedom coaching before we get to any of the real solutions, because I can give you all the solutions of the world, right? But if you've got this wall of shame blocking, it's like a force field, can't penetrate into it. The truth can't get in there in many cases because we're blocking it. We're part of the problem, right? So we got to work through that. Then we get into the identity work. Who are we? When we can work, and the way in which of getting that strong is this path forward of moving from radical isolation. And that's another reason why pornography is so bankrupt, because very, very few people, imagine, Billy, people aren't it's your suburban neighborhood, for instance. Nobody's going around the neighborhood putting up posters saying, tonight, come on over, 8 p.m., we're watching porn. It's going to be awesome. Nobody's doing that. Right? It sounds ridiculous just saying it out loud, because it is ridiculous, because this is a quiet, shameful, hidden thing, but everybody's doing it, right? And when we don't talk about it, these things fester. And that's why I think, Bill, I gave you credit for bringing this up. So in here is this intimacy piece. We need to move from radical isolation into communio, first starting with a relationship with God, simple prayers, entering into that, allowing him to melt our heart. But then I need to reach out. I got to be present with other people. And then the last piece here is the vision piece. If pornography is blinding us, well, then learn how to see. And what we do, Billy, with this process is a deep dive. Nature abhors a vacuum. The church used to be. I'm looking behind you on the screen there. So for all those who are just listening, he's got beautiful books and images there. He's got Fulton Sheen, who's an unbelievable, he should be a saint right now, and he is. And from this here, it's beauty that we crave more. There's no defense against beauty. And so what we've fallen for the false beauties. We need the real beauty. And there's no real beauty eviscerates the lie of pornography. And so when we do a deep dive into beauty, when we bring in things like sacred art, but especially art where the body is exposed appropriately, the lie we've been programmed, Billy, is that the body is pornographic. The body's not pornographic. Nakedness is not evil. They were naked without shame, okay? Attraction is good, right? But it needs to be directed rightly towards love. Marital intercourse is good, but it's marital, and it's meant to be good and holy in that way. That means the only thing that's left here is lust. And what is left here when we actually are confronted with the truth about the body, and we're programmed by those images, guess what? Porn becomes boring. As Jason Everett would say, and I was blessed to be on his podcast, lust is boring. It does not fulfill. So when you take these 3 elements and you feed this space continually, guess what happens, Billy? The scales fall from our eyes, and we don't desire to look with lust. There's, in fact, a very different reaction. And then what happens, Billy, even beyond that, is we begin going out in public with real people to see them as real human beings. And guess what? This is the way in which we're called to live, because in those people, and every person we encounter, if we can really see it, is Christ himself and then to love and serve Christ, especially in the poor, the vulnerable, the weak, the unborn. This is how we
Right.
change the world.
Absolutely. And great answer. And yeah, I mean, that little pit right there, that you talked about was the the scares falling from the eyes, and we go out and preach this to other people, and see the right relationship with them. I mean, that was basically, I thought of the apostles when the Holy Spirit came upon them. They were,
Yes.
they were kind of to themselves, and all of a sudden they went out and preached the gospel and told everyone. So that's what I thought of when you said that. So great stuff. Um, I know we only have a few minutes left, Steve, but I do want to get this kind of open question in. Just popped up again. I was thinking of it, and for so the basis of this topic, we're kind of looking more from people who are in pornography already, who are really struggling with it. And I know you mentioned a couple ways for people who have not been in pornography to maybe stay out, but can you go in a little bit detail of people who are not experiencing pornography, how they can stay away from that?
Sure. So is there a time and place, especially let's talk to parents for a second, right? Is there a
Sure.
time and place for controlling our technology and filters? Yes. I got a 10 and 12 year old daughters, right? Praise be to God, they have not been exposed to this to the degree our culture is very pornified. So I'm sure there's been elements of that, but praise be to God. But we're a hawk. You have to be a hawk, and you got to be aware of this stuff, and not to be a necessarily a helicopter parent, but depending on the younger you go, the more of the kind of the helicopter you kind of got to be. You got to form them, right? Be careful, little eyes, what you see. Be careful, little ears, what you hear. I once worked with a female who it was a Beyonce song that trapped her when she was 8 years old. That began her path down, and thank God she has been healed. But these things are very real. So again, if we need that kind of accountability, use it. But what I want to make it very clear: technology itself, if you put your trust in technology, technology will fail you. This is an issue of the mind, the heart, and the vision. So I would say most importantly is to build up genuine, healthy relationships, genuine friendships. So once a week, minimum once a week, schedule someone on your schedule to go out in person, in the physical, in the flesh. I mean, this is all of us, right? We're decimated from 2020. I'm an extrovert. I love people, right? It was killing me, right? So we need to go out. We got to share ourselves. And also, very important, along with those relationships, Billy, get real. Okay, there's a
Right.
phrase that is just rattling through my heart and head recently, has been lead from weakness. Certainly, we're not going to air our dirty laundry everywhere, but there's got to be spaces where you got to let other people in, where you can
Right.
say, basically, I'm not okay, you're not okay. Can we be okay with that? Can we come together? And what it does instead, it's like a marriage, right? Where we're called to lean in and not be afraid of that. That when we lean in with our weakness here, with people that we can trust here and open that space up here, we find not rejection, but we find an acceptance of ourselves and realizing, you know what? This is part of the weakness and frailty of human nature. Coming in that is going to be really good. And then, especially also, if you want to ward off what's called blasted,
Right.
bored, lonely, hungry, angry, apathetic, stressed, tired, turned on, emotional, depressed. Mouthful, I know, blasted. If you want to ward off blasted, Billy, focus on gratitude. The source, and there's a reason, the source and summit of our faith is the Eucharist. Eucharist from the Greek, eucharistia, is gratitude, is thanksgiving. That's what it means. And so if we surround our life by this, right, very important here. This is not, I mean, connected with this is having a very healthy, robust sacramental life. Go to church, go to mass, go to divine liturgy as much as is possible. Go to the sacrament of confession. I would recommend at least once every 2 weeks. Entering in this, not scrupulous, but entering in this, because those little things can build into big things. Um, and in that, right, to fill that place and space with genuine gratitude, wonder, which means, Billy, this connects with the fact after this podcast is over and you come and check out freedom-coaching.net, turn off your social media, turn off your computer, turn off your technology, get outside. I don't care how cold it is right now. Put on your long underwear, go enjoy God's nature. And here, this creates wonder. Do real things. That's why, Billy, you and I were talking about, you're on a ranch working with real things. I love it. It's something I've missed for a lot of my life, and I don't want to miss out anymore. And it's filling a space for wonder in me. And I want to invite all people to enter into this beautiful creation that God has given me and given to you.
Absolutely. I mean, just really quickly, I mean, I just really sense that God's creation when I go outside. Like for example,
Mm.
I don't really like hunting, but when I'm out there with my brother and my dad and seeing the beautiful country and just being quiet in the woods and just having that time with God and thanking for
Mm.
His creation is really gladdens the heart, and it's just really,
Yeah.
it just reminds you of how thankful and blessed we are, and how glad and how we need to offer more praise to God and ask Him for more help all the time. Real quickly, Steve. I know we're running out of time. Real quickly, in about 30 seconds or to a minute, can you sum up your final thoughts on the topic today?
Sure. I'll just say this to the broken, to the hurting, to those who are trapped in various compulsions. Be not afraid. The
Right.
wounds that you have are pointing to a deeper reality, the call to freedom, the call to healing, right? The shadow proves the sunshine. Give these broken desires over to Jesus Christ. He has the power to heal them. In the Catholic Church, there's a power through these sacraments to heal, to be present here. But you've got to open that ache. You've got to get real with others. And if you will get real, if you will get raw with those in which a circle of people who you can trust, who you can open up to, then watch what happens. You will begin to come alive, and can walk in the woundedness of each other to heaven.
Right. And if I mean, totally agree. And if you're going through a tough time, I mean, my moral is Jesus, I trust in you. I always trust
Yeah.
Jesus, because if you're going through that much pain, God has
Mm.
probably something for you greater on the other side. So don't give up
Amen.
hope and trust to Him. Steve, really quickly again, I always give the links in the description, the links to the speaker's sites and descriptions below. So how can people come and find you?
Fantastic. Well, I encourage all of you, first off, freedom-coaching.net. That's our website. We've got a multitude of speakers on there. Our own podcast is the Redeemed Vision podcast. We're constantly having great guests on there and various topics. Our social media, Twitter, I think we're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. If you look at the handle Redeemed Vision, you can check that out. And then I'm also the author of Redeemed Vision, Setting the Blind Free from the Pornified Culture. Very powerful read, can transform your life forever.
Awesome. Well, like I said, it's my pleasure to have you on. So I'll put your description below, your links below in the description, because you've helped me come in on the show. Explain this to our viewers. I'll help you out and expand your reach as well. And so, Steve, thank you again for coming on and discussing this very heavy, tough, but like you said, we need to be open about it with someone topic today. So thank you, and thank you for all your work that you're doing.
Absolutely, you're welcome. And one last thing, anybody who's
Yep.
hearing this, who's hearing that call to freedom, and like, I want to break free from this call, put in if you want to jump in, the applications on our website, freedom-coaching.net. Put in the code Table Talk Freedom. We're going to give you the first meeting free. Okay. And then we're
Awesome.
also going to be able to support this podcast. So that's a very good thing. So blessings to all of you. And Billy, thank you for the opportunity to share today.
Hey, no problem, Steve. It's my honor and pleasure to have you on. Everyone, if you're looking for a church retreat or a church group talk, highly encourage Steve. I looked him up, watched a couple of YouTubes of him getting ready for today's show, and I love the way he talks. So it's something about him that I really like about him, how he preaches and talks to you. So highly recommend him for your church or gathering. And that's Steve Pokorny, everyone. Make sure you check him out. And again, thank you for all your support. And we help you or someone you know out today on this topic. And so like I said, just be open to God's will and to have hope in Him and trust Him. And you can make it through this tough, difficult time. So until next time, God bless you and your family. God willing, we'll see you next week right here, same time, same place, on all of our same platforms on Catholic Table Talk Podcast, the podcast where everything Catholic is on the table.